Order, please. This regular meeting, this regular meeting of the Joshua Basin Water District Board of Directors for December 4 is now in session at 5:30. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is just here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Determination of a quorum. General Manager Johnson, a roll call, please.
President Cohen,
Present.
Vice President Doolittle,
Present.
Director Fick,
Here.
Director Short.
Here. And Director Jarlsberg is absent due to attendance at a conference. You remote? I'll get to that part. Watch this. Okay. Directors attending this meeting are present in the boardroom. There is no remote participation. We have a quorum. Approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve this evening's agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you very much. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Public comment. This designated time is for members of the public to provide comments on any district-related matter, whether appearing on the agenda or not. Under provisions of the Brown Act, the board is prohibited from taking action on items not listed on the agenda. At the discretion of the board president, comments on a particular agendized item may be deferred until that item is heard. Is there a public comment? Is there any written, electronic, or voicemail public comment, General Manager?
None to my knowledge.
Public comment time is now closed. Consent calendar. Consent calendar items are expected to be routine and non-controversial to be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. If the board member would like an item handled separately, it will be removed from the consent agenda for separate action. We have one item. It's the draft minutes for meeting November 20. Does anybody want that item?
I just have a question. So if we see a small issue like grammatically or spelling, should we, I hate to pull it out and discuss it in an open meeting, but then I don't know if it's, copacetic for me to just mention to the person who takes care of the notes to fix it. You see what I mean? So what's the deal there?
Welcome when you read the packet to send us a message. If there's an error, we'll be happy to fix any grammar. You can also tell us now and we can fix those are minor and we can.
Okay, well, I mean, since I brought it up, I know that you can't stand the suspense. It was just where ASB CSD on page 6. I'm just glad to know somebody else had this problem. So it talks about, and then where it's under, spelled two different ways, that's all. So under me, it's spelled ASB CSD, and under Jane, it's ABS CSD.
Oh, good point. Thank you.
Well, easy to fix. That's all.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Discussion / action calendar. Reappointment of Citizens Advisory Council member. General Manager Johnson, please.
Thank you. As you may recall, last year we brought CAC bylaws to the board. And in those bylaws, when a CAC member is on the council, they will need to be reappointed every 4 years. And Dave Rio has met that mark. So he's here tonight for reappointment. Would please take the podium. And you're welcome to ask Dave any questions. And we confirm them to CAC if you wish.
Vice President Doolittle.
Well, I mean, I would like to ask you a question, but first I'd just like to say thank you so much for your dedication. It doesn't go unnoticed and your attention to what's going on. I've mentioned this to you before that one time, I think you were asked something, maybe it was in the strategic planning meeting or some meeting, and I was just blown away by how insightful your question was. You know what I mean? It was like at the end of the meeting when we were all tired and everything. So sharp as a tack. I'd just like to ask you, why are you continuing to do this? How come you're continuing to do it? Why do you enjoy it?
Because it's necessary,
Uh,
and I do have the time right now, and I like keeping involved and seeing what's going on in our little in our area.
mhm.
I see a lot from where I'm at. I know a lot of people, and I like being part of the farmers market.
Yeah.
Listening to what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm not just there sitting, it's more hearing the interaction and sometimes taking part if I'm able to, or if questions are
Mhm.
about the CAC. So it's very, and for the future, we really need good water. We do, for our kids, our family and yours.
Well, thank you so much again for your service to the district. That's all from me.
Director Fick.
Well, you're my favorite CAC chairman by far, and I'm impressed by your diligence in following the water district. And I'm curious, does the CAC follow the Brown Act?
They do follow the Brown Act, yes.
Are they sworn in like we are?
They're not sworn in, no, because they're volunteers and they technically, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that body has to follow the Brown Act, but we do.
I believe it is a committee formed by the board, so it would have to follow the Brown
You would
Act.
have to, okay.
Yes.
So, and we do, so all of the pieces of the Brown Act are there.
Okay, it's an idle curiosity on my part, so, okay. You have my approval.
Director Short.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. I think this community needs more people like you, so happy to keep you.
Thank you.
It's always enjoyable to see what kind of car you're gonna drive to the market.
Or motorcycle, yeah.
In relative to what he drives, and also Kathleen Radnich's husband, what he drives, which is a 63 Volkswagen bus that he rebuilt, it's literally become a part of the market where people will stop by and they'll tell stories about just like last week, I think, about when they owned one and what they did with it. What was it this time? It was like a 60s Chevrolet.
68 Bel Air.
Yeah, station wagon. The thing was like 25 feet long, but it's parked right next to the booth usually. And people stop and take pictures of his car and all that stuff. But what I like doing when he's there, or even when Frank Cote is there, who's historically a water guy, career water guy. And I'm talking to somebody, I like to mention that he's there and what he does, and also that Frank Cote, what he did. And the fact that he's a water guy that we can rely on for advice at the booth. And generally, we have a good time. We do. Okay, I don't know who that is on the phone, but I guess that'll be about the end of that. Are there any public comments? I'll just spit it out. Is there a motion from the board to reappoint David Carrillo to the Citizen Advisory Council?
I gladly make that motion.
Second.
I'll second.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Those in favor say aye.
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 Not adverse to being prompted, especially when I'm wrong. Interim employment, General Manager Johnson, please.
Great, thank you. Tonight, I have brought to you a resolution and an interim employment agreement for Ray Polish to fill in for our interim director of ops. Typically, employment decisions do not come to the board. They're usually under the purview of the district employees. This is a little different, and the only reason it's different is because he's a retired annuitant. And so there are some special rules that have to be followed to ensure that his retirement does not get affected. So this is a temporary assignment. And in order to ensure that his retirement isn't subject to any issues with CalPERS, this is more of a formality. I feel very grateful and thankful that Ray has agreed to come on and help us through this time and help us rebuild some of our operational team and help us find a future full-time regular director of operations. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Ms. President Doolittle.
So he's not here for this call.
No. There's not an employment decision here, so that's why he's not here. He's already been through the process.
Okay, well, there are just some questions that I don't know that you can answer all of them.
Okay, I can try.
So one is that this is a full-time position, right? So is he considered to be full-time in this job?
So CalPERS, as a retired annuitant, only allows a retiree to work 960 hours in a fiscal year. And so he'll be filling in approximately 32 hours a week for the first part of the fiscal year. If we don't find another director of ops full-time, he can do another 960 hours in the second part of next year, beginning July 1.
Is he doing any other work? Because I know he's a consultant that can impede with this work, or is he 100% ours?
He's 100% ours. He has dissolved already on Solutions. He was going into full retirement mode.
Okay. Let's see, okay, is he insured? Like his business, you said he's dissolved his business, does he carry insurance?
Well, he doesn't have a business anymore, so I don't think he would be required to carry insurance. He'll be an employee of the district, so he'll be under the district's.
As a
insurance.
contractor,
No, he'll be an employee of the district.
so we are hiring.
That's right. It's a retired annuitant status. It's still an employee of the district.
Okay, just a second, let me,
Take your time.
did everybody else understand he was an employee of the district and I missed that?
Interim employment agreements.
Okay, interim employment agreement, okay. Let's see, so he doesn't have to carry insurance, well,
Hold on,
What's that?
select the speaker.
Oh, Deborah's here finally.
so I see that this contract was completed in June 2024, the original one. I was making sure that that wasn't overlapping with this, the original contract you had with them.
That's correct. It's been complete since June.
Yeah, 2024. Yeah, so I was, so we're contracting, this is his employment contract, right? And on page 12, section 8, section 7 and section 8, particularly section 8 is, I was stunned by this indemnification. Like, wow, do we indemnify our employees like this?
This is to indemnify him from CalPERS. So what happens in CalPERS, if you work as a retired annuitant and you go back to a CalPERS employer, if you work over that 960 hours, then you become an employee of that district and you would have to repay any retirement you've already received from your retirement. That's not an option for him. So we want to make sure that we don't.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you say that because section 8 says nothing about CalPERS.
I believe section 9 is the CalPERS overpayment.
Right.
Section
So
8 is the indemnification, which actually is consistent with the government code. You actually do provide indemnification for all employees. Sorry,
Okay.
sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. No, I wanted to hear the answer. So, okay, so, and that's, what is that? Where's that, the code? That's what is that? Jeff, where's that?
It is in the government code. It's in the section 800s. I don't know off the top of my head specifically what number it is, but section,
Okay, California government code? Or-
correct. Yes,
Okay,
government code
California
800.
government code. Okay,
800.
because I didn't know that. I thought sometimes people, employees could be sued personally for things.
There are certain circumstances where that is true, but general statutes provide for indemnification.
Okay, so if this, so, you know, I hate to think of any, I'm trying not to think of a tragic example. But let's say that there was some example where by, you know, his, you know, he was operating equipment and something tragic happened. In that situation, I've understood, you know, not only do, you know, if there's something really bad happens, not only do people sue the district, you know, they sue that person personally sometimes, but we would be indemnifying him from that.
Correct. That is why the indemnification exists. And so,
All right, okay.
and similar to the government code provision, this has an exception if it's an intentional tort or crime or action outside the scope of employment. That wouldn't be covered. And it would only be actions within the scope of his employment. And
Okay.
that's consistent with government code.
Okay, thank you. So section 10 on page 13, what does we shall inure to the benefit of and be binding upon the district's successor agency or entity? What does that mean? Successors and assigns. I don't understand what that means.
I'm happy to answer that if you'd like. It is probably, you aren't going anywhere. But basically it's a standard provision in a contract that basically provides that if you were ever, say you consolidated with someone or you, whatever it might be, and you merged into another agency, that would be binding on your successors. Obviously, that's not on anything on the horizon or anything you're even possibly considering, but it's a pretty typical contract
Okay.
provision so that the indemnification carries over if something were to happen while he was there and then.
Okay, if we were bought out.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Okay, so.
Yeah, it's obviously more relevant usually when it's a private entity where that's more likely of an
Okay,
option,
all right. So I'd like to know if all, and I mean, when I say all, I mean all, are all of his licenses up to date?
Yes,
Okay. Is he going to be remote or on site?
he's going to be on site
100% of the time?
32 hours a week.
Okay, and we're not paying for his travel expenses as it said in the contract, right?
No, we're not.
All right, so was this job description edited at all, or is it the same
That's
that's,
the same one.
okay. All right, let's see. I'm glad to hear that he's gonna be here. I was really concerned that he wasn't. I would hope that maybe, what's the plan that we've been trying to get out of operations for a while now related to our, you know, the future strategic plan for the operations?
The CIP plan.
Yeah, I would love it if that could happen, or if he could, you know, work on that. So, anyway, that would be great. Hint, hint. Okay, and then, let's see, okay. All right, this is great. I'm just glad to know that he's gonna be here and, that he has all of his, licenses and, onward.
Director Pick.
Okay, well, I'm looking at his address, Cedar City, Utah. He's retired. How do we know of him?
He is the retired general manager of 29 Palms Water District. He's also a former employee of Joshua Basin Water District. He worked here roughly 1988 to 1992 before he went over to 29 Palms. He worked there for 20+ years, retiring in the position of general manager.
So he left the district in 92 when it was about to get merged with High Desert, so.
I don't know that for sure, but yes.
Yeah.
So he was a maintenance operator here, went there for, you know, a different opportunity and then ended up, you know, taking the top role and his career. He was also an independent contractor for our district for about 18 months and did some amazing work for us during that time. A super solid individual, great reputation, extremely smart, and is going to help us, you know, get where we need to go.
I know that Director Fick always has a lot of different questions in history, and I just want to say that a friend of mine came up with a really funny nickname for him, Fickopedia. And I just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you, I guess. Okay, okay, so he's retired. It sounds like he's happily retired. And did you contact him or he contacted you?
I contacted him.
Okay, it sounds like a good call.
I had to.
Thank you.
Welcome. I did want to mention too, the one difference in employment on this agreement versus a regular employee is this is salary, it's just the hourly only. There are no other benefits.
In short,
So if he's got no other benefits, how's he getting health insurance then?
Not through the district, not through the.
So we'd have to do it privately.
I imagine he has it on his own.
Okay. Okay, that's it for me.
Citizens Advisory Chair David Carrillo, do you have any comments on this?
I would say, after I read everything about him, that this is a great choice. Him coming in and, you know, a big part of what's going on. And I don't see anybody. I would say that the ratepayers would be happy with seeing us smoothly run. You know, I mean, it's smooth right now, and I've seen our crew, you know, in person, do their work. They've got the equipment, they're doing it, and for it to run a little smoother, would even be better. So I would say, yes, that's your case. Thank you, President Bowen, for asking.
Sounds great to me. Are there any other public comments? Is there a motion from the board to adopt resolution 24-1070 appointing Ray Colese as our interim director of operations under a temporary employment agreement effective December 16, 2024?
I'll motion for that.
Thank you, David. A second,
I'll second.
roll call, please, General Manager.
President Fluen,
Aye.
Vice President Doolittle.
Yes.
Director Fick.
Yes.
Director Short.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Motion carried. Adopt current AWWA standards. That's the American Water Works Association for meter testing. David Shook, Director of Administration, please.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for your time this evening. Just a little bit of background. The district is in its final year of the meter replacement program. With the census 5280 SR2 mechanical meters replaced with the new census ultrasonic iPro meters. The new iPro meters use a different technology and adhere to different AWWA testing standards. To ensure the district's policies align with these industry standards, it is necessary to update our rules and regulations to reflect AWWA guidelines. The current Article 1.33, established in 2011, provides guidelines for water meter testing and installation of the old SR2 meters. A new policy needs to be adopted for the new census iPro meters. So resolution number 24-1067 proposes the following changes to Article 1.33 for meter accuracy. Adopting a new policy, the revised Article 1.33 incorporates the following key provisions. Pre-installation testing. All meters must be tested before installation to meet current AWWA accuracy standards. And I do have actually a couple of examples here. These are the stubs that come with the census iPro meters that prove that they are tested to meet AWWA standards prior to being installed in the ground. The next part is customer initiated testing. Customers may request meter tests and are responsible for a testing fee. However, they are reimbursable if a meter fails to meet accuracy standards. The next part is district initiated testing. The district reserves the right to test meters at any time without charge to customers as part of maintenance or policy programs. And once again, the accuracy requirements, meters must meet specific accuracy ranges at low, moderate, and high flow rates. The low flow AWWA standards are 95% to 105%. Both moderate and high flow are 98.5% to 101.5%. And these updates are expected to enhance operational efficiency, improve customer service, and align with current industry best practices. We recommend to the Board of Directors that they adopt resolution number 24-1067. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board, Vice President Doolittle?
Well, thank you, Director Shook, for updating a policy. I'd like to know, how long did this policy rewrite take you to produce?
Oh, in hours or days?
Hours,
10?
10 hours, okay, good to know. I see that I just signed a check that we bought the final, a bunch more, I guess it's the final amount. And I don't know if any of those have changed, but I'm still hoping we have a possibility of a digital wireless info transmittal. I recently was contacted again by a different member of the public who had ended up with a $900 bill. This guy's a dirtbag rock climber. He doesn't have money for things like this. And there was, I was hoping he was going to be attending the meeting tonight. So, because, you know, this keeps happening and I'm being told by the district that I'm supposed to just tell him to call the district and the district's taking care of it. And these people are telling me that's not the case. I wanted to also ask the testing fee. It was at $1.60 and then it was made $150. And the board, was that not something we would have been told about? Because it was without board discussion or information? And I'm sure you're going to probably tell me it's because the agency charges us more now, but I would have liked for us to discuss that because I don't know that we wouldn't have wanted the rest of the ratepayers to supplement those things being tested.
I'm not sure when that was adopted, but it's been 158.
Yeah, that's been a while. I want to say 2018 is when the fees were revised.
To 150?
It must have been, yeah,
Oh, okay.
because it hasn't been changed since then. It hasn't been changed since I've been in this position.
Okay.
So
Maybe I was
Yeah.
informed incorrectly because when we were dealing with someone whose name won't be mentioned, I was told $60 to test.
it might have
Test
previously.
the meter. Well, I mean, it was just this year that I was told $60. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but it would reflect the cost of the service that we pay for and any administrative costs in addition to that.
Yeah. So did we, so do we know if any of these meters actually might be more likely to work? Or I think it's the system, it's the terrain that we have, right? And that's why that, I mean, what's the ultrasonic part of this?
Well, it's just the way that they function. So from what I understand, there's a laser, so to speak, inside the device that measures very accurately low flow through high flow. Where the old water displacement type meters, they're not as accurate as these new meters.
So it's a laser that measures the water going through,
Yes.
as opposed to it was like a, in the past, it was like some mechanical, very mechanical, old fashioned sort of thing, which is why I know that the general manager of Bighorn, she prefers those kinds of meters as opposed to these digital ones because they, you know, you actually know how they work. Whereas, you know, this laser could be kind of iffy. So I'm concerned because this man that had that $900 bill, who's a typical, you know, resident of Joshua Tree, you know, he'd had a new meter installed and then this happened and there was no anywhere on his property, any sign of a leak or anything, and it went away after he came back and complained. So, anyway, that's all.
Director Fick?
Okay, well, the question I have to her, was that dirt bag a brand or?
It's, you know, like he carries a bag of chalk to rock climb and stuff.
Okay,
They're called
okay,
dirt
I-
bags.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, yeah. It's not it wasn't yeah, it's not a bad thing to call them that.
Pejorative or something.
No, it's not pejorative. Yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
I don't have this kind of meter. How old is that other one that you got there? What design?
I've had this one in my office for quite a while. I'm guessing it's pretty old. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they can be up to 20 years, I believe.
That one is 20 years?
I don't know if that one is. The old style were put in approximately 20 years ago.
Because that's the one I have and that was put in 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, maybe. From what I can see, It had the same flip up, yeah.
The plastic one?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
this-
sorry. I thought you were talking about the other one.
This is just the plastic housing over that.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Sorry.
Oh,
That one.
you do have that one.
Oh,
okay. What do I know?
No, no, it's a good question. That's just what it looks like inside that plastic cover.
Yeah. I wanted to circle back on something. I'm gonna do a Jane. I try
Okay.
not to ever do this.
Circle
So,
back.
yeah, circle back. So since it's on the agenda, I respectfully request again, a report on the meter issues. There's a meter issues report that I had visibility to and poof, it went away when I accidentally opened it. I was always looking at it. And then all of a sudden I opened it and then it went away. It was on the SharePoint. But a report on the use increases and decreases. I've requested maybe twice now, maybe this is the third time, where people get the new meters installed and how many of those have these, you know, these wild sorts of things. I just like to see, not because I'm curious, but because I've had so many people contact me and I can give you some names of people so that you can actually use them. So you're not having to just blindly try to figure some of these out. So we could see some sort of a report on this and see if there is an issue that maybe the district is perhaps missing.
Back to me. I was talking to a high desert propane guy and he was complaining to me about a $900 billing with the new meter. And I told him, well, the new meters are far more accurate and therefore they're catching what would be maybe a 5, 10, 15% wear down as they age. So, but $900 was the figure he gave me also. So I don't know what's going on as far as the 900 goes. I don't know. That's not the same person, was it?
No, this kind of.
Oh, he was the dirtbag.
That's the
Mine was the
dirtbag, yeah.
propane guy. Anyway. Okay, yeah, that's about all I got on this. Yeah, they're far more accurate. And it looks like, well, the slow read, it sounds like it's got a bit more play in it just because it's a slow read. Do you know why it does that? I mean, why the standards are that way with they're a little more stringent on the higher, well, I would approve of that. What's the word for it? Fluctuation or fudging. Variance, okay.
Yeah, there you go. I used to finance work and.
Okay,
Proud of
thank
me.
you.
I don't know specifically why it's that different, with the low flow with these new meters. Just that it abides by the AWWA standards. So
We'll have to go by,
I do have the previous ones, on hand.
did they have the same fluctuation variance going on?
No, the SR2s are 95% to 101%.
At the high rate or low rate?
Well,
Okay, that's all I have.
Director Short. Yeah, on page 23, it says all meters must be tested prior to installation. No meter meeting the standards set by the American Water Association shall be installed. We get any that weren't functioning when we got them?
not to my knowledge. From what I understand, all of the new ones have those tags that,
They wouldn't be sent to us.
Oh, they wouldn't be sent to us. Okay.
Yeah, so they're not passed.
Okay, gotcha. So these new ones have a laser, right? So is it possible for that to get like gunked up by like lime scale or something? And like, be less accurate?
not from anything that I've read. They function negative 22 degrees to 140 degrees. And there's a lot less moving parts. If you actually look in here, there's not much in there
Yeah,
to go wrong. And the life cycle is 25, 30 years for these,
20.
20%.
Yeah.
okay. And yeah, just like everyone else has talked about, it was with the meter issues. I had a conversation with somebody a couple weeks ago as well, but I'm gonna save that for director comments. So that's all for me.
So, on the older style, is there some sort of a paddle in there that will turn things and that doesn't even sound accurate, to tell you the truth.
Those ones are more likely to get gunked up because the, dirt and debris can get caught in them.
Yeah, logic tells me that, which could be faulty, is that with the newer one and this laser and contamination and all that, that the emitter of the light itself is not in the water. The light is passing through some sort of a lens or a piece of glass or something like that, and reading water going by is what I'm guessing. Does that sound like it's something?
That sounds pretty close to what I've been told, yes.
Yeah. I was invited to go to an end of watch meeting at the shop this afternoon. I was in extra early. So the general manager drove me over there, and one of the employees was telling me about, not telling me, but he was telling the group, there were maybe 9 of us there or something like that, employees. That when there is an indication of a unusual meter read, they do respond to the location to see what they can see. One of the first things they check, according to the person who does it, is the meter. He's looking for anything that's suspicious about the thing, if it's turning or not turning and all that. And at least the ones that he's checked recently, it's been some sort of a leak on the person's property, literally a geyser in one case where a faucet was broken off and the stem that brings it up was broken off somehow, and there was a geyser of water coming up. So, and that's not to say that it's never a faulty meter. I'm simply saying that there could be other factors involved too in these kinds of things, and we are exercising a certain amount of due diligence and going out there and investigating these things as soon as we have evidence of something that's suspicious, you know, in the use of water. So it's, I don't know, we're doing the best possible, I think, considering that there's 5,700 of these things. And if there's technology that we can use later, you know, related to cell phone access to our consumption and stuff that is affordable. That'd be fun. It'd be fun to have something like that. Do I have any public comment? Dave Carrillo, do you have anything?
I'd just like to stress what you said. I mean, the whole digital telephone stuff would be great, but it needs to be affordable for our ratepayers.
Yeah.
It really does. I mean, that would be fantastic, but we're all spread out here, not like the bigger cities that have everything really close and things are less expensive that way. So I would like to see it, but it has to come at an incredible price.
General manager.
I was just going to mention that we learned of a device that attaches to the meters. Just recently, we've used it. We had they're not a manufacturer, but our rep from our meter supply coming out, and you can get some data logging on the meters. So we're looking to purchase that apparatus so that we can get that information and look back in history. It goes back about 60 days generally. So that would help with some of those issues. And also, I do think it's good that we bring back, I don't know if it's a meter error report. I'm not sure that I've seen that, but something to that effect. It's been 5 years since we've been in this program, so it's good to do our due diligence and review, you know, the installation. We're about complete with the program and make sure that everything is working, you know, as expected. So we'll put that on the radar to be back to the board.
Any other comments, public comments? This is going to be potentially a record-breaking motion here. Is there a motion from the board to repeal Article 1.33 of Resolution 11-872, that's meter accuracy policy, and approve Resolution 24-1067, adopting a new Article 1.33 meter accuracy in compliance with AWWA standards for meter testing? Is there a motion?
Make the motion.
Thank you. Is there a second? I'll second it. General Manager Johnson, a roll call, please.
President Fleming,
Aye.
Vice President Doolittle. Sorry,
Aye.
thank you. Director Fick,
Yes.
Director Short.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Motion carried. That was interesting. Thank you. Reports and comments for informational purposes only on subjects not covered by the agenda. Opinions of individual directors are not necessarily the opinions of the board or district staff. No action will be taken. The board may provide staff with requests for future agenda items. Vice President Doolittle.
Oh, yes, I would like to say, yes. Yeah, I would just like to say I was curious about the 10 hours because, you know, here I'm beginning my 5th year sitting on the board. And I don't believe that we have implemented one policy that came from the board. And, you know, that was at the crest of the board. And yet when I review things and the training that I've taken, that's our number one thing to do is to set policy. And so anyway, I recognize that the general manager is under a lot of stress and that we're not going to be getting any policies anytime soon. But I would hope sometime in the future that we could do that. And related to that, I again request at some point in the future a document detailing the requests that we have been making to the district regarding things on the agenda. And I also would like, if we happen to have it, the requests that we've made, and we may not have it, for WRO committees. Like, for example, I'd asked for this Envision group to present to the WRO, and that was this year, but it was probably in February that I requested that. So anyway, I know we haven't had any meetings, but sometime in the future. So I'm just reiterating that that there be some tracking, and maybe it's not the general manager's job. And so therefore, we're not stressed out on the board for having created stress for the general manager. Maybe somebody else could do that. And I didn't attend any meetings, so I don't have anything to share. Curiously, I was at a local business at Crossroads tonight, picking up a sandwich on my way over here. And I was looking at their map. They have this really cool old map on the wall. And it shows the desert, and it actually goes way over to the border with with Arizona. And then it goes all the way over to Redlands and Riverside. And it talks about there being a metropolitan water conveyance or something through the desert. And it came along down from Amboy or something like that. So anyway, I found that very curious. But my food arrived and I didn't get a chance to investigate it further. But anyway, that's all from me. Thank you.
Was it a black and white man?
Yes, that black and white one on the right when you
Wonderful.
walk in there.
Why, Colonel Moore, who is the one who did a lot of those.
Oh, okay.
And he's based out of what is now Taylor Junction.
Oh, okay.
That's-
Oh, really? Hmm.
Yep. So I've got several of them.
Oh,
Not
cool.
as big as what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, I'm swimming in information, because I'm 2/3 of the way through on the convention. Hello, Jeff. Thank you for dinner. I did go to the water quality and they didn't even mention chromium-6. And it's like, and they're talking state water quality, and they're going on about the copper lead thing, which is, they said that they had, and the utility scale of things, in other words, what utilities do using lead, there were 11 million, the figure was 11 million, there were 4 lead ones down near San Diego. So it seems one plumber down in San Diego was using lead for plumbing purposes, kind of weird. And so, but the more recent meeting that I went to was the cloud seeding one, which was an interesting one. And because of that imprint on my brain, that's probably the one I remember the most right now. And that was the fact that they take these stationary silver dioxide mixed with acetone, and from the ground, they disperse it when they think they have a suitable storm upwind of us in Joshua Tree. Well, what it is this is the Santa Ana watershed. I'll paraphrase it. The Santa Ana River watershed. What are they called?
Authority?
let's call them an authority. But
I think you're right.
yeah, so what they do is upwind of us and upwind of the San Bernardino Mountains. They do it with several other mountain ranges, but none of them do any good like the San Bernardinos. The San Bernardinos really, really put it out. And that situation is they measured the difference between the historic difference of 12 to 15 years to the cloud seeding to what they're getting when they do seed the clouds. And they're getting an extra 20,000 acre feet of water, which being that we're downwind of this, some of that was ours, most likely. Not much, but some. So we have to.
We own it in the sky too, huh?
Yeah.
Not just underground. It's, if it's in the sky, it's ours
It's
too.
ours. So anyway, that was the most recent situation. I was down there with Jane Jalsberg at times. She makes a point of not being at the meetings I'm at because not that she dislikes me, but she wants to give a wide-ranging input and feedback from the convention, which I can understand. So I was there most of the time with a fellow board member president, Joe Marie McKenzie of Bighorn Desert View Water District. She's president of that. So we just happened to be bumping into each other at the same meetings all the way through. And the low income one, we went to the low income situation. And that one was up in the air. They were hemming and hawing about all the manners and procedures that they've done through the years. And they're trying to avoid the fact that the administration of the low income subsidization is going to be more than what the low income subsidization is. So that's the balance they got to find. They got to get it out of the state general fund, but that's a precarious fund because right now it's underwater. So that was the complaint on that. So they went in circles on that one. And so, and I was at the keynote speech, and that was about the San Joaquin Valley and their water problems, and they need more water for all their farms, and they want to, you know, for people who don't know, residential urban water use is around 6%, industry is around 6%, agriculture takes all the rest. So agriculture is easily over 85% of the water, and you know they got to clean up their act. So anyway, that's it. Oh, I was asked locally. I actually get quite asked a question. Somebody was asking me when they say they see tickets all the time, but I don't believe that part. But they asked if a person is driving a Joshua Basin Water District truck and he gets pulled over for speeding, who gets the ticket and who pays for it?
Do we indemnify them?
And the driver is responsible for the ticket.
Well, I figured that it goes on his records separate of.
The driver is responsible.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yes, we
that's
get
what I told her.
notified and within 24 hours of that issuance, and the driver is responsible for taking care of it and reporting it.
I reaffirmed this person that I'm pretty sure that's the way it works. So
Who notifies us?
We have a DMV pull notice program that all employees that drive for the district are enrolled into. So the DMV
Automated.
notifies us as soon as the ticket or whatever infraction is hits the record.
okay, well, that's my report.
Director Short. Okay, I was speaking with one of our ratepayers about a high bill due to a leaking swamp cooler. This is a very unique situation, and unfortunately, the district couldn't do much in terms of helping this person out. The person was being evicted from their house, so the owner could turn it into an Airbnb, and they never winterized the swamp cooler. It leaked and caused a nearly $800 water bill. The person was on auto pay, so it went through. You know, $800 is a lot of money. I don't think I could survive a month if I lost that much. I don't believe the district did anything wrong in this situation, but I think we should be able to adapt and prevent this from happening again. I don't like seeing ratepayers having to set up a GoFundMe to recover from a water bill. There was some discussion, I think it was in October, about increasing the percentages of when we notify somebody of a potential leak. And I think that's something the board needs to review in a future agenda.
Soon.
Yes, as well as review policies so that we can give people on auto pay a chance to enter into a payment plan, even if the account is closed. We also need to improve our leak detection. That is all for me. Yeah, a question would be the lag time. between a leak event occurring and then when we learn of it and dispatch someone out to investigate. That's hard to tighten that part up times 5,700 kind of a thing. And I don't know, maybe whenever I hear about these things, I always tell them about this. I don't know what it's called, forgiveness program, where if we investigate and see if it's appropriate to forgive a certain percentage of the bill, that kind of thing. It's really hard. If there is, in particular, a device that can go on the meter and give advanced warning of some of these things to whoever monitors it, presumably the homeowner, that would be great, but I kind of think they should pay for it. I wonder how much they cost.
Well, unfortunately, the meters that we bought don't go with any of the commercial products that are available.
Oh, there are.
I don't know. This is my understanding from someone who bought 2 of them.
Oh, I see what you mean. You mean private ones.
Right,
Yeah.
so customer, owned ones. So, I mean, we've really not handled this well. I don't think the district's gonna do that.
Wasn't there something we were looking into last year, like AMI advanced?
It fell apart because the
Yeah.
test should have been done of that and we would have been able to identify, that it wasn't gonna work if that had been tested ahead of time.
I guess I'm confused with the question.
If it was a problem with the terrain, if it had been tested ahead of time, instead of getting into that contract with those people, then we would have known that wasn't work. What happened is the district said, yeah, we'll buy all those things. And I was being told, because I remember very clearly, we're gonna do that. We're gonna add it. We're at it. There's money in the budget. There's money in the budget, but it was never tested. And so when the time came, when we were ready to spend the money, it didn't work.
AMI is still an option. There was a propagation study last year that we brought to the board and determined that at that time it was not a feasible solution, but it doesn't mean it's not a feasible solution in the future. It can always be revisited. So there was a study done. It can be done. There's a lot more to it than just adding AMI. We would have to, it's trading one problem for another. It's not a revenue. It's not going to save money, is what I'm, I guess, trying to get at, which is okay.
For the district.
For the district, which is okay, but it's something that is going to take, more time, unfortunately, to restudy it again. But last year when we did study it, the study didn't say it wasn't feasible, just the costs were not there yet. They're coming down though. So when the district and the board approved purchasing these meters and starting this meter replacement program, I think roughly in 2018, AMI was over $1 million at that time. And so they decided not to do it. And we have seen the price come down. And I think it's something that we should revisit. I've talked to a lot of general managers that have AMI. Interestingly enough, I was at the Coachella Valley Water District this week, and most of their district is read manually, which I thought was really surprising. They don't have AMR or AMI. They're huge. So anyway, side note, getting sidetracked there. So it is something that can definitely be looked at again. I think what Vice President Doolittle was discussing was the aftermarket devices like Flume and some others that they do not work with the ultrasonic meters. That's true. There are some inline devices that customers could buy. It's not something the district would probably want to promote because you can't, if a customer puts an inline device on their line on their side and they're using that to monitor their usage and then they take it off, we're going to have no control of if they remove it. So once it's on the customer side, we want to say or to promote, use this device, because if they remove it and say, well, I didn't have any usage, here's my read, it won't match our read and we have no control of what they're doing with their device. So private devices are trickier, but AMI is still a solution that we can look at in the future.
Okay.
It sounds to me like that it's something that might be more important to the board than realized and definitely can put it on the radar for the future.
That's all for me.
Okay. I think it might have been at it was the meeting where we reviewed the audit. I made a somewhat frustrated comment about how I didn't know the difference between a controller, the state controller, and a comptroller. And so I looked into it a little bit, and in the first place, the controller is a state person, and they're charged with, among other things, I assume, setting audit standards for auditors. And those would be the audit standards that Jonathan, our auditor, used. This is so that everybody, this is one of those, we don't make this stuff up stories. And so this stuff, there are some very specific I say it's very specific requirements about how the audits are conducted, because the manual that they use is 927 pages, believe it or not, that they have to use. And so the effort has to be made to make everybody's, the hundreds of reports that go to the controller, they all have to be in the same language, so to speak, the same accounting language. And that's generally what that one does. And that comptroller person, that's federal, and that is a person. And he, in this case now, it's a he, runs the Government Accountability Office. And essentially what they are, this accountability office, is that they are a general information source for the Congress of the United States. That's one of the things that they do. They answer questions. And also I noticed that they are available to assist the new administration and the new Congress as they come in with any information that they need regarding their jobs and what policies are going on and all that stuff. And also they audit things. They just audit things. They audit the Marine Corps. And they noted that the Marine Corps is insufficient in the amount of naval vehicles they have to move Marines and resources around in the world. And they have to do more, they should do more for that. In other words, it's a wide range of federal governmental things that this comptroller's office, the U.S. Government Accountability Office, deals with. They are the library of Congress, so to speak, the people that dig for information. And so that they do, I kind of recommend their website. There's a lot of juicy stuff on the comptrollers. It would be the GAO, I think, if you want to search it, their website. And so now I understand, and that's another one of those things where they follow GASB rules of accounting also. And so when they see information coming in from a water company or from a state or a county or whatever, it's all in the same language. And so that answered my question about it. And so now everybody has an idea. General Manager's report.
Hey, David and I toured well 14 today to see the MIOX startup. Finally, after several years, we are going to be generating chlorine at well 14 using the on-site MIOX generator. MIOX stands for mixed oxidant, and that's used to produce chlorine using ingredients of water, salt, and electricity. There's a couple of hiccups with it, so it's not fully functional, but it's right there. We have a gentleman on site, flew in from New Mexico that's working on it. And it works for MIOX, so he's doing the official startup, and sensor needs to be replaced and one other component, and then we will be fully functional. So it was really exciting to see that project come to fruition. It's been a long time coming. We expect the strategic plan final to be at the next board meeting, just waiting on a couple of extra pictures that I'm trying not to make it too picture-y because I know that's not everyone's favorite. So it's looking good, should be at the next meeting. On the 2nd, I attended the Community System Water Alliance annual planning meeting, which was this last Monday. It was hosted at Coachella Valley Water District's headquarters. We helped create strategic plan goals for 2025 and some of the legislative work that they'll be doing. So that was exciting. And on the 25th of last month, we successfully completed and submitted the annual water loss report to the state. Danny Paulino, our compliance coordinator, did an excellent job picking that up. That's the second project she's taken on in her new role that was previously subbed out to an engineer and is now brought in-house, saving the district approximately $12,000 that was already budgeted for that project. So I'm super happy about that. I know that Ann has a report.
Yes, I do. A few updates. Going back to, I think it was in August or September, the board approved the cost allocation plan through NBS. And I just wanted to report that that has been delayed somewhat due to some personnel turnover on their side, but we're regrouping and restarting that project next week. And I'm also working on the camp onboarding process, which will take a few weeks. And then we will move some funds and start testing the transfer process in the portal with small transactions first, and we'll simultaneously be developing our internal processes. So Kyle Tanaka from camp will provide quarterly investment updates to me, and of course sooner if anything major happens. But he mentioned to me in our meeting this morning that he may at some point within the next 6 months or so actually advise us to pull our funds back into LAIF because for some period of time, because there's the potential that interest in LAIF may exceed camp and class and CalTrust for a period of time. This relates to the weighted average maturity, or the WAM, which is the length of the investment. And LAIF invests on a longer term basis, which means as rates are dropping, as they are expected to, LAIF could potentially outperform the JPA investment pools for a temporary period of time. So he is very transparent about those things, which I'm grateful for. And just to round that out, I wanted to say, you know, while we want to be careful not to speculate or get into the practice of trying to time the market, this is kind of more obvious stuff that we can react to. So I will keep you posted as this process rolls out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. David?
Yes, I had the opportunity to attend the JPIA Summit on Monday and Tuesday. I'll just quickly cover a couple key takeaways. They spoke highly of the benefits of having a hazard mitigation plan in place. So I'm thankful that we have that. Drones, they spoke quite a bit about. There's pros and cons to using drones. They're useful for aerial video and photos of sites, especially those that are way out on the hillside. But that also has increased liability, certifications, piloting licenses, et cetera. One of the biggest topics they covered was canals and seepage from unlined canals, like from where I am from in the Imperial Valley. Housing developments were built near these unlined canals, and they one photo that they showed, one of the, I don't want to say customers, but one of the housing people there were digging for a pool, and it filled up with canal water. So they had free water, but it's not necessarily the beautiful pool water that they were intending to have. They covered anatomy of a claim, and everything in there was related to infrastructure failures, dangerous conditions, and property damage to facilities. One example they gave was a skylight. A person at a facility had fallen through a skylight. So it's important to monitor and evaluate all of our sites and our facilities to make sure that they're safe and identify potential hazards there. Being proactive in identifying potential hazards. They covered a little bit in cyber. There was a panel that kind of gave some descriptions of issues that they had personally gone through in their places of employment. One key takeaway from that was that those bad actors or fishers are frequently under slave labor and actually have their families held hostage. So they're pretty drastic at trying to get information. So, and tomorrow I will be heading down to Hemet to watch and observe and learn from the meter testing.
Maybe make a little video.
Yeah, I like it.
Good idea.
That's the end of our report. Thank you.
Other questions?
Well, by all means.
I have two questions. You're mentioning about MBS, was that employee, if I remember right, was she in Joshua Tree area?
She is, and she's still with the project. She had an analyst that she had assigned to the project that suddenly resigned and moved to Texas, I think it was. So she had to regroup with another analyst and bring them up to speed, and so set us back a little bit.
Okay, and then I was curious, well 14, that's a major well. I've gone through the minutes for a decade or so, and it was up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, and money, money, money. How much of our water in the district comes from well 14?
Oh, that's a good question. I know it's our highest producing well. I can get the answer for you of how much is in the district. I know we rotate. I know 16 and 17 we use the least. 10 is one of our big players. 14 is one of our big players, but I don't know the actual quantity off the top of my head.
And so are those 4 wells, are they all on separate systems?
Do you mean zones?
Zones, yeah.
Well, no, some are, a couple of them are, but a couple of them are feed similar zones or the same zones. So,
Okay.
yeah, remember we were 5 districts combined into one back in 1963, and so the geography of where all the pipeline isn't ideal necessarily if we were to design this district today and put all of the pipeline in. So there is some overlap in some areas, and in some cases that's good because you want redundancy. So I'm not a master on the zones, but something we can, definitely bring more information back about.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things Jacob's engineering is going to look into is the fact that if we have to deal with the chromium 6, how much we can unitize the entire water system so that we only have to have 1 treatment plant or 2.
Well, they're going to look at it in a bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
They're going to look at, should it be wellhead treatment? Should it be centralized treatment? So there's pros and cons to all of it. Centralized treatment, the big con in my mind is that you lose redundancy. So the treatment plant goes down, so does the entire system. So when you have it wellhead treatment and one well goes down, well, another well can pick up where that well left off. And that's what we did when well 14 was down all those years. 10 picked up and 16 and 17 picked up. So the ability to move through the zones with all the wells is there. So they'll look at it though in totality and really give, bringing them to giving the board the best available technology that's the most feasible for our system.
Well,
That
yeah,
project kicks off in January, by the way.
there is evidence of redundancy. I can recall when the big pipe popped on well 14, and we were essentially down for about 25 hours or so. We were able to get at least at a lower level water to people's houses. I think David mentioned that as I recall. So we do have the redundancy there to some degree.
Yes.
Another thing that I like now that we're doing, it came up someplace this last week, was the looping process where we're trying to over time eliminate dead end pipe, which can accumulate standing water over a time, which obligates us to send someone around and blow up the pipe every once in a while, because there's usually a fire hydrant on the end of it, which they put a meter on to account for the water loss that has to be reported to the state. All this stuff is so very complicated. I admire you folks for being able to keep up with it, at a high level, I think. Perfection, no, but at a high level of performance, I'm always amazed and impressed. Anytime I have any chance to talk to any of our people, it just, I learn about, like today, the depth and the complexity of what they do.
And in that one meeting that was only 10 minutes, you learned 1 day's worth of work of all of the challenges that arise and all of the solutions that have to be developed in that day just to deal with, these interesting little quirks and challenges that you have.
Yeah. Everything takes longer than you think it will, and everything costs more than you think it will. That's one of my rules. If there's nothing further, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting. Motion, second.
And I'll second. So he motioned. I'll
Thank you,
second.
David. The future meetings, there's a lot of them, they're listed at the end of the packet. And in the agenda, this meeting is adjourned.
Have a good night.
Thank you for attending.
Thanks, Jeff.